Welcome back. So we've covered a bunch of stuff already, and now what we're going to dive into is, all right, you got your profile up. What do you do next? How do you actually do this online dating thing? So good. Let's hop in. So first thing, you want to treat this like a cherished relationship. Don't do this if you're going to do it in a kind of a half-ass way, because you're going to produce half-ass results. So you want to know that you're ready to do this. You want to know that you have got the time every day. I'm a big fan of this. Every day you're going to spend some amount of time in the beginning, probably a little bit more. And then as things go on, it'll be a little bit less, but you want to spend some amount of time just going in there. Even if you haven't heard from anybody, it's great to just go in there, go see who's around, see if there's anybody interesting that you want to write to. And remember we talked earlier about mindset and energy and how important that is. So you're taking care of this relationship, and it's so meaningful and powerful. I cannot stress this enough. Don't go near the keyboard or your device unless you're in the right kind of space. Don't do it when, oh God, I got 5 minutes. Got to do my daily thing, because it's just not going to take the best care of the relationship. So if you think about everything being energy, you want to be in this place of receptivity. You want to be operating from your intentional context. This is an adventure. Everybody I meet is a gift, whichever one was yours. And so you get yourself ready. Don't do it while you're in the middle of 20 other things. Truly, trust me on this. Whether you believe it or not, just, let's pretend you believe me and do it anyway, okay? Just do that for yourself. Plan the time, get yourself ready, be in the best possible shape. If you want to listen to music to get you in the mood, or light a candle, or do some dancing, or change your clothes. Especially if it's something that you do right after you get home from work, really could be dicey to just go right from work mode to sit down and do work with this, because this is, again, a relationship. So this is a little bit out there in the energy and the kind of the woo-woo thing, but it's so important. All right, so you've now carved out the amount of time that you are going to spend, and you're going to put that in your calendar, and you're going to be really ready to give it your very best. All right, and you're going to go in there and you're going to have this attitude about everybody's a gift. And the other sort of adds to this thing about, are there exceptions? Yes, but for the most part, here's how I want you to think about everybody else out there. They are like you. They are a deep feeling being, and they're using this vehicle to try and find somebody who will love them, who they can love right back, who they feel safe with. Such a great way to relate with everybody else. However they do or don't do a good job with communicating or anything else like that, just, it's a good assumption to make and a good place to come from about where people are at. All right, so you're about to sit down and you're going to do your thing with these people. Now, when you first go on, like I've mentioned before, when you first go on, you're going to have more attention. And so when you think about, well, how do you prioritize your time? The best thing to do right off the bat is, because the system will notify you when somebody has liked you. They might have liked what you said. They might be something that they've liked a photo, but they've basically, they've kind of raised their hand, right? They've said, this is something about her or him, something is interesting, and I've noticed, and I want that person to know that I've noticed. So good. First thing you do is you go hop over and take a look at their profile to see if there's something there that might feel like worth exploring. I'm going to be very strong about this, because it's more typical for people to go with just what is a physical, interesting, what's causing that feeling of chemistry, attraction, especially early on, right? It's tempting to just go with swiping fast and that kind of thing. Please take extra care and look for, rather than, in fact, this is a great way to do this, rather than saying, is this person a fit for me or not? Because your brain's going to want to say no, unless they're, you know, stunningly gorgeous or handsome or whatever. In fact, you'll do this and everybody else does this. Your brain almost looks for reasons to say no, because no is safer than yes, right? No means you're not vulnerable, you won't get hurt, you're not going to feel disappointment, nothing. You're in charge, you say no, off they go. Be careful about that. So instead of, is this person a fit for me or not? How is this person a fit for me? How is this person interesting to me or attractive to me? Because your brain will go looking for however you set it up, that's what your brain's going to go looking for. So how is this person interesting? Because by the way, what's going to happen is when you're looking at their profile and what they've written and the photos that they've posted, and you're asking yourself the question, how are they interesting to me? And you see, oh, wow, this guy is a windsurfer. That is so cool. And so then now you have something that you can say to that guy, right? You can say, what? That is so interesting. I love that photo of you windsurfing. I tried it once. All I could do was fall on my face every single time. I admire your agility. I admire your strength. Whatever. So, which is, by the way, one of the ways that you want to communicate with people is look at something about them, comment about that, have it be that there is relationship going on right from the beginning. It's tempting, and a lot of people do this. Don't fall into this trap. Hey, I think we've got things in common. Check out my profile. There are so many people online any given moment, and if they're even remotely attractive, they're being bombarded with attention. So you must stand out. As much effort as you put into your profile being you and being the best possible ad for you, now you're still essentially the advocate for the product, right? You're the product. You're still advocating for the product. You're like the, oh, I can't think of it. I was going to say something funny, but I can't think of what I'm going to say. Anyway, so here you are. You're the manager of this product placement out there in the world. And so you interact with people by noticing something that's interesting, something that you can appreciate, something that made you laugh, something that you can relate to, and you just share that about them, to them when you send a message to them. And to go back to something we've touched on earlier in another video, there are going to be people you're going to write to, and it's, whether it's you've gotten that whole attachment-itis thing right off the bat. Oh boy, this is we match on everything. This is of course going to go, we're off to the sunset. When you write to someone, think of it like you are giving them a gift. Okay. And if you really think about the definition of a gift, it's to give something with no expectation of something in return. When you write to them expecting them to write back, there's all kinds of attachment, right? There's all kinds of weight to that. And how do you feel when you're given a gift that has an attached price tag? People tend to resist that. So the best way to do this, the most freeing, the most effective, the most magical is you go notice people because you're being generous and because you're you. And so you're just noticing things about them that are interesting or that you admire or that you respect. By the way, if you are a woman and you are after a certain age, the demographic of men that you are playing with, that you are interested in, what's very important to them, not that it's unimportant to anybody, but what's very important to them is to feel admired and respected, because most likely they have spent a lifetime earning it. So they pay a lot of attention to that. So what do you notice? What's interesting? What do you admire? What do you respect? What are you amused by? And you just send off your message and then you let it go. Don't sit by your email waiting for their response. Do your bit of work, however much time you've set aside for your day. And then you do that, and then you are done. You come back the next day at the same time, once you've gotten yourself ready and you are in that expansive place of juicy connection, and you'll see who has written to you. If nobody has written to you, then what you do is you go looking around, you use the search function in whichever site or the app that you've decided to play with, and you go look for someone who appeals to you, being generous in what that means, right? Because you're not just going to go, if I had it my way, you would expand beyond just who is physically really, woohoo, causing that reaction in you. Be more generous, be more expansive, be more curious. There are so many people who would be a phenomenal fit for you. And they may not have represented themselves well enough. They may not have had the kind of help that you've been getting to put yourself out there. So be generous about how you look at people, and be willing to overlook certain things. Now, there may be things that you are not willing to overlook. You may be a grammar teacher, and so you're going to pay a lot of attention to somebody and the way that they have used grammar, punctuation, spelling, etc. So you can't abide by that? Okay, no worries. Don't worry about it. You just move on. But I really, really encourage open-mindedness, flexibility, generosity of spirit, and curiosity. Just, these are they all have some value. They all have something that is a redeeming quality about them. So what the heck? Go sprinkle your healing magic, right? All right, so you've been doing this, you've been sending out messages, and at some point people are going to write back, and then the next thing that happens is, so you're now in communication with each other. Very tempting to go to the easy topic, very tempting to talk about online dating. How's your experience? How's your experience? Don't do that. That's kind of boring, actually. And if this is going to be your romantic partner, why are you talking about them dating other people, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So steer clear of online dating as a topic. Also, this video is being shot while we are in this pandemic. So the other very tempting topic is to talk about COVID. Same thing, it's sort of overdone, and it could be a tad boring unless you have actually had it, in which case you can maybe talk about that, because that would be interesting. Especially, hopefully, if you got it and it was not a big deal. Anyway, so you're going to be communicating back and forth. Now, there's lots of ways that you can have a conversation be more meaningful than just, hey, what's up? Where do you work? Which is fine. I mean, all questions are fine, but if you want to have meaningful communication, start off with, what is it that is important to you? What do you need to know about somebody in order to further exploration? So if one of the things that's important to you is that somebody is philanthropic, say, hey, we're just around Christmas time. Is there anything particular that you like to do during Christmas to help out people who are less fortunate than we are? Right? So that's kind of a leading question, but it also, if that's really, really, really important to you, what a great question to ask. As long as, by the way, and this is a little tricky, but you don't want to come across like you are doing the interrogation, or like this is the interview. I have this list of questions. Hold still while I, you want to think dialogue, communication, back and forth, sharing. And wherever the conversation starts, it's likely going to go, if the two of you have anything to really keep exploring, then the conversation will get deeper. What you're going to just be diving into will get a little bit more, personal, that's how you want it to be, right? Now, something that happens a lot, it's being a little bit different now around this COVID stuff, and I'm gonna do a separate video specifically about COVID. Anyway, so one of the things that has been a very big complaint for a long time is that people will say, geez, all this person wants to do is text, 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 and not get off it and ask for the next, the next whatever would be desired. Now, here's the thing. I personally am a big fan of, your job is to learn who people are, right? So if somebody is a perpetual texter and doesn't take the next step, unless you want to take charge and be the driver in the relationship, should it go to that level, think of it more like you're just learning about who this person is. So if they're texting, it's what they're doing. You're just learning about who they are. You don't even know what it means, right? It could be that they might be very attractive and popular, and they're fielding a lot of communication, and maybe, you know, dating is expensive too, or right now not so much because people are just doing Zoom, but you know, so sometimes people just, they want to really feel a great sense of connection before they move on to the next time-consuming level. That may not be how you roll. That's fine. You're learning about who they are. That's just information. And if you're really engaged in this and somebody's just texting, and meanwhile you've got something going on with somebody that's flourishing, well, you know what? The texter just kind of loses out, don't they? No skin off your nose. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't want to get so hung up on and get so attached to a particular outcome with somebody that it energetically takes you out of the game. So you're just doing your thing. You're just being generous. You're talking to people. You're communicating. You're sending out messages. Some people are going to come back and you're going to end up in a dialogue. And then what will happen is at some point, you're going to move on to whatever the next thing is. So it could be meeting for a coffee date. It could be meeting for a walk. It could be, you know, some people, because that's how they roll, they want to move right to, let's meet for dinner. Now we're going to do a separate video about COVID specifically, but this is often how things unfold. Is there's going to be that initial communication with a bunch of different people, and lots of people will just fall by the wayside, which is fine. Even if you think that there's something there, if someone has disappeared, you have just learned something really valuable about that person. Namely, that's not your person. Not your person. You, in fact, write this down, really important. Through this entire process, the thing that you want to remember is you are the chooser. No matter what happens, you're the chooser. You think this person is, oh my God, the greatest thing since sliced bread, and oh, gotta have this person. If they go away, you just learn something about them. Not your person. You can't choose them. And because they went away, they actually saved you from that often painful job of having to tell somebody that they're not a fit, right? P.S. You're going to get a chance to practice this a lot, this thing I'm about to talk about, because remember, we touched on a video earlier, every single person you encounter until you choose the winner is going to be the wrong person. Some of them are going to go away. You're not going to have this conversation with them. But for some people, you're going to come to a point where you're going to realize, you know what, this is not my right person. So depending on how far things have gone, but there's 3 parts to this message, and I want you to, this is very important that you do this, and it's important that you get really good at it. 3 parts to the message, use your own words. The first part is, thank you for, and it could be thank you for your interest, thanks for the coffee, thanks for the laughs, thanks for, it's been great getting to know you, right? That first part is an appreciation. The second part is, I don't see that we are a long-term fit. I like to throw in the long-term thing for anybody who actually needs some kind of ego preservation, because they can say to themselves, well, I wasn't asking them to get married, you know, if they need some kind of self-protection. So I don't see that we are a long-term fit. And then the third part is, I wish you all the best. Those 3 things. Thanks, we're not a fit, best of luck. The end. Rarely, but sometimes what will happen is somebody is going to send you a message and they're going to say something like, what do you mean? Or, I thought we were doing great. Or, I don't agree with you. So you might have somebody asking you, why don't you see that we're a fit? Now, in my experience, there is no point to that conversation. And you don't want to leave somebody in worse shape than you found them. So what you want to say in that case is, you know what, you're fine just the way you are. This is not a productive conversation to have. It's just, you're fine. We're just not a fit. Best of luck to you. It would be highly unlikely that somebody would come back to you after that. But if they do, don't respond to them and just block them. Just, you've taken care of your side of the equation. And this is really a kind, compassionate, generous thing to do, as well as being responsible. Because if you know that that person's not your person, setting them free it's such a good thing to do for them. Even if they got attached to the idea of you, it's not going to be you. So set them free, okay? And do it as quickly as you know that that has become true for you. I don't mean like if you're out to dinner, you get up in the middle of dinner, although it's also fine to cut short a date. How many times have I heard somebody say, oh, it was just interminable. It's fine. You could be in the middle of a Zoom date. You could be in the middle of a dinner date. You could be in the middle of a walk, and it's fine to say, you know what, out of respect for both of us and for our time, I really have come to the realization that you and I are not a good fit. So I'm going to give you back the rest of your day, night, afternoon, whatever. I'm going to give you back the rest of your day. I'm going to take off now. That's fine. Hard to do. I acknowledge that's really hard to do, but it's also fine to do it, because if you end up at the end of a 5-hour grueling thing with 4.5 hours of that being hell, you didn't need to do that. Okay. So I want to encourage you to do that. It's not only is it very empowering for you, but truly, truly, it is a generous thing to do for the other person. Okay. Now, so let's say you've got all this stuff going on. By the way, I want to encourage you. This is one of those, and I touched on earlier, this is one of the ways that you can avoid attachment-itis. I want you to imagine that if you've ever seen a horse or a dog track, you know how they have those little gates for individual racers. So I want you to picture that you have at least 3. 3 is a good number. 2 is too few. 1 is bad. 4 for some people is too many to manage. And I want you to imagine that you've got these 3 dating positions. As soon as you're communicating with anybody, they've taken one of the slots. Okay. So, and you're going to have people rotating in and out of these things, because you're going to have somebody who has just shown up taking that position. In position number 2, you've got somebody who you've maybe had a few emails back and forth, and you're sort of playing around with, when do you actually get together for coffee? 3rd slot might be somebody you've already had a coffee date and you are now looking forward to your dinner date. Okay. Now, very tempting to get an attachment-itis. Oh, I'm telling you, it's such a, it's a killer. So it's very tempting once you like somebody enough and you've had a date, it's like, oh, I'm done. I'm done until whatever. But it's more likely than not that that person's not going to end up being your person. You don't know enough yet. So don't take yourself out of the running, and don't fall into that dangerous thing of attachment-itis, right? That you haven't chosen that person yet. So you've got these people coming in and out. So now you've got this person, let's say in position 3, who you've had dinner and, oh, you liked it. But now all of a sudden somebody in position 1, because that one, that didn't work. That was like, 2 email exchanges and you knew it was not the right person. Somebody else shows up. Ooh, coming on like gangbusters. Ooh, really nice. This guy still, or this gal, whatever, is interesting, but this one, ooh, that doesn't mean stop that one and go with that one, because you don't know enough about that one. So you keep all 3 of these slots rotating. As soon as somebody gets eliminated for whatever reason, that spot is open for somebody else to come in. So you're not getting intimately involved with 3 different people. I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that until you choose the winner, and that you don't know who that's going to be until you know, right? And up until that point, you want to just be available to who shows up. What feels right? You're being authentically yourself, and you're just seeing what is going on with these people. I mean, ideally, you know exactly the kind of person who's the right fit for you. Very important. In fact, I would go so far as to say you don't want to be doing any of this unless you are really clear about who you are, because of course, even doing the ad, you're the product, you got to know who you are. And doing that ad for the right kind of consumer, you got to know who the right kind of consumer is, right? So if you don't know those things, do that work first. So here you are, you're evaluating these people, you're evaluating them based on what you require from a mate and from the relationship with that person. You're also evaluating how do you get to feel? How much of you is received? How comfortable are you? How much of a good time do you have with this person? Because you may be over the top attracted to somebody else, but you feel nervous around them. You don't feel like you can be yourself. That's probably not the right person for you, right? The person who you feel easy with, natural with, you feel like you can be really just self-expressed, that is gold. So you're rolling along. Now it's up to you. You know, obviously it's your call. I'm not a big fan of physical intimacy until you are dropping into exclusive dating, which is not the same as committed. When you've evaluated enough and you've spent enough time with them that you don't know yet, but you think this person has a really good shot at being the right person for me. I think I've evaluated enough that I'm going to take myself off the market and I'm going to just date this person exclusively. It's a different kind of dating, right? You're taking all that energy that was spread out amongst these 3 different dating positions, and you're now going to drop into who are we together? At that point, that's when I would recommend, that's when physical intimacy becomes a part of your exploration. You hopefully already have vetted this person out a lot and you know a lot about their values and what they are looking for in their life, and it feels like a match. So that is basically how you would do the process of online dating, okay? Again, we have a call. So if this is the place where you have the most amount of questions, let's talk. All right, I'll see you on the next video.